In this presentation, I'm going to explain why I think that we should stop creating more people. The human race has been responsible for the endangerment, extinction, or drastic population decline of millions of species. I believe that the next population decline that we should take responsibility for is our own. Besides the fact that I think babies are loud, gross, and sticky, there are plenty of reasons why I believe that we should prompt birth rates to go down below replacement level, which is exactly 2 children per woman. Humans have undeniably caused a lot of destruction to the environment, which would only get worse with the growth of the population. Also, with our exponential population growth, we are quickly reaching our species' carrying capacity, at which the Earth will not have the resources to sustain us all, which is pretty much the apocalypse. Lastly, the world is deteriorating because of the human race, so why would we create more people to suffer in it? Harvard University sociobiologist Edward O. Wilson theorizes that the maximum carrying capacity of the Earth based on food resources will most likely fall short of 10 billion. Wilson's theory is based on human ability to use our agricultural resources 100% effectively, cutting out our use of land for raising livestock and instead using it to grow crops solely for human consumption. If we look at past trends for population growth rate, we see that the current world population of 7.9 billion is double the population in 1974. The world population in 1974, 4 billion, is double the world population in 1927. If we keep on following that pattern back, you can see that the world population doubles roughly every 47 years. If we assume that the birth rate were to remain constant, and you consider our current world population of nearly 8 billion compared to our estimated carrying capacity of 10 billion, that would make the human race less than a decade away from reaching a point where Earth can no longer sustain us. That is only true if we were to assume a constant birth rate worldwide, which is simply not realistic. For example, 1961 saw a worldwide average birth rate of 5 births per woman, whereas the current worldwide birth rate is 2.4 births per woman. The replacement rate for the population to remain stagnant is 2 births per woman, so anything less than 2 would put the population at a decline. Even though current birth rates are less than half of what they were 40 years ago and are continuing to decline, we are still above replacement rate. So what should we do about it? The best place to start looking for answers is history, to learn from our mistakes, and we have made a lot of mistakes when it comes to human population control. The concern about Earth's carrying capacity for the human race can be traced back to the late 18th century, when the world population was only 1/8 of the size of what it was in 2021. In 1798, English scholar and economist Thomas Malthus created what we now know as the Malthusian theory. Malthus introduced this theory in his essay titled The Principle of Population, which explains the potential threat of exponential population growth in arithmetic food supply. Specifically, the Malthusian theory states that the power of population is indefinitely greater than the power of the earth to produce substance for man. Malthus also believed that a balance can be achieved between food supply and population growth through preventative measures. While Malthusian theory focuses on the Earth's carrying capacity, there is also the antinatalist viewpoint, which focuses on the belief that it is cruel to create more people to suffer through being alive, and this belief can be observed all the way back in ancient times. For example, the ancient Greek playwright Sophocles wrote in Oedipus at Colonus, "Never to be born is the best story." Even in the Bible, Ecclesiastes 4:1, it was said that I declared that the dead who had already died are happier than the living who are still alive. But better than both is he who has not yet been, who has not seen the evil that is done under the sun. In 1975, Freddie Mercury said in his song Bohemian Rhapsody, "I don't want to die, I sometimes wish I'd never been born at all." An antinatalist movement and movement to decrease human impact on Earth was founded in 1991 by Les Knight. Knight founded the Voluntary Human Extinction Movement, or VHEMT, which advocates for people to simply voluntarily stop human procreation altogether. What some may call the height of population control didn't start until the late 1960s, and many credit the change to a book titled The Population Bomb, written by Professor of Population Studies at Stanford University, Paul Ehrlich. In his book, Elric stated that in the 1970s, hundreds of millions of people will starve to death in spite of any crash programs embarked upon now. While Elric was not accurate in his predictions, his book did spur many into taking action towards slowing population growth. Some of the methods of achieving population decline stated in the population bomb includes coercive routes of action, such as eliminating tax benefits for having additional children. By 1970, 27 countries had decided to cut birth rates, but only South Korea, Taiwan, Malaysia, India, and Pakistan had substantial programs. In 1971, in the state of Kerala, India alone, a single sterilization camp performed 60,000 procedures within a single month. Many of the patients were poor people motivated by the incentive payments. China went a different route, implementing a one-child policy from 1980 to 2016. China made contraceptives widely available, put economic sanctions against those who did not comply, offered financial incentives to those who did comply, and even went as far as forced abortions and sterilizations. Positives to a declining population is a less competitive economy, as resources would not be spread as thin. With fewer babies born, teenagers would have a higher adoption rate, as in the past they are often overlooked in favor of adopting infants. We would be able to avoid reaching our species carrying capacity, and if we can achieve a significant decline, the environment would benefit from fewer people alive to pollute and consume. According to National Library of Medicine, on an analysis over the effects of population decline in China, rapid fertility decline increases gross national product per capita, accelerates the improvement of people's lives, and speeds up the development of the economy. Since 1981, accumulation growth has exceeded consumption growth. As the result of economic development, the people's nutritional levels are improving. Fertility decline forces the traditional attitude towards childbearing from more children equals more happiness to improving the quality of care for your children. The downsides are that with fewer people being born, as well as modern medicine prolonging human lifespans, older, more dependent populations will outnumber the younger population that they depend on. Also, no one likes to be controlled, and many people don't want anything to get in the way of them creating a family of their own. There are also economic challenges that would be caused by a worker shortage, but I believe that with all the jobs that can be done by machines, this part can be dealt with. Many solutions that have been tried in the past were not ethical. Many women in India have gone through forced sterilization. During their one-child policy, China saw many forced abortions and sterilizations happen, as well as use of coercive tactics to make people conform. Other more ethical tactics that have been tried are increased availability and access to birth control and abortion. I believe that the best ways to ethically prompt a population decline include promoting small families or child-free living as the ideal, making birth control, sterilization, and pregnancy termination affordable and accessible to everyone, incentivizing child-free living through different benefits, making adoption a more realistic and affordable option, as well as promoting adoption of older kids as they have a significantly lower chance of being adopted. At the beginning of this project, I didn't really understand all of the negative effects for my topic, but everything has its good side and its bad side. As I was researching, I realized that while I may agree with the end goal of fewer babies being born, the ways it has been gone about in the past are downright cruel and unethical. I also didn't really know much about how the economy works, and I kind of still don't. And I thought a population decline would only have positive effects on our economy, but that's not entirely true. The country with the lowest birth rate is Taiwan, with an average 1.07 births per woman, and the country with the highest birth rate is Niger, with 6.91 births per woman. These are my sources. Thank you all for listening.